gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of the Monday Morning Recap. And ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today a very happy and confused person about today's game. Now, coming into the game, I had told my son Jackson, I said, there's no chance the Vikings are going to beat the Packers on Sunday. Aaron Rodgers is far too good. Our secondary is awful, and there's just no way it's going to happen. Well, folks, this game was a back and forth affair. The wind played a huge factor in today's game. There was a lot of fourth down attempts throughout the game because the kickers were having problems in pregame kicking from 35, 40 yards. So the long field goal was out of the question. Now the Packers got the ball first. They drove down the field pretty easily, like a knife through butter, and took a quick 7-0 lead. But then the Vikings got the ball, and today was the Dalvin Cook show. If you watch the game, you realize that Dalvin Cook may be, when healthy, the best running back in the NFL. So the Vikings drive down the field, score 7-7. Packers get the ball. They score 14-7. And then the Vikings score before halftime, 14-14. So going into halftime, I'm going, you know what? If they can keep pace, we get the ball first in the second half. Who knows what can happen, guys? And that's exactly what happened. They got the ball in the third quarter. They marched down the field and scored to go up 21-14. Then they got a defensive stop, which I hadn't seen one of those all weekend after watching the Gophers on Friday and then the Vikings today. And they got a couple of defensive stops. They were up 28-14. And then the Packers get the ball. They drive down the field. Davante Adams catches his third touchdown pass of the game from Mr. Aaron Rodgers. And then they go for two. Initially ruled a failed attempt, but then after closer consideration, they did rule it as crossing the line. So 28-22, the Vikings get the ball back. Now this is still where I think I don't like Mike Zimmer because he does not have an aggressive bone in his body. Vikings get the ball back, and they get one first down, and they're just running it. They're trying to run out the clock because, God forbid, anybody try to put their foot on somebody's throat and get the ball down the field. But Vikings end up punting, and Aaron Rodgers gets the ball back with about 40 seconds left. Now I know what you're all thinking. I've seen this movie before, too. However, now Rodgers did march the ball down to, I think it was about the 45, 40, somewhere around in there. But with the wind conditions, the Hail Mary is just like a kick. It's way up in the air. It could get caught in the wind. So who knows what's going to happen. But one of the last plays of the game, little toss out to Robert Tonyan, who was a beast today. And he stays in bounds with about 28 seconds left. Now they finally get the ball snapped and spiked with 12 seconds left on the clock. Now I'm thinking, I've seen Aaron Rodgers. He should say he went to Hogwarts because he's a wizard. I've seen it happen countless times against the Lions, against Arizona, against the Vikings. I mean, it's crazy what he does in a Hail Mary situation. But Rodgers snaps the ball, rolls out to his right, and Mr. DJ Wanham, yes, that DJ Wanham, no, nobody else has ever heard of him, rookie, gets a sack, forced fumble on the last play of the game. Eric Wilson scoops up the ball with no time remaining, and the Vikings end up winning 28-22 at the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Like I said, I didn't think there was any way the Vikings were going to win this game. The secondary is awful. I thought the pass rush, the front four guys, Even after trading Ngakwe or whatever his name is, even after trading him, and Daniil Hunter's now out for the year, Fadio Denabo and all the other guys on the line really stepped up. Armand Watts, Jaleel Johnson. They got pressure on Rodgers. Now they got a couple of sacks, but for the most part, they really weren't able to sack Rodgers much. However, they did get it in his face and made him roll out. Now, in the past, Rodgers has been very, very deadly when rolling out. When you get him off of his spot, rolling out right or left, which he was today too, but not quite the Rodgers of old, where he'd get out of the pocket and he'd be able to scamper for 10, 15, 20 yards. He's not doing that anymore. He's trying to preserve himself for as long as possible and not take any big hits. However, that last hit by DJ Wanham, that was a big hit. It was he rolled out and he didn't feel that pressure at all. I don't think anybody would, but got hit. Bit of a controversial ending because was his arm going forward? I don't think so. He got hit before that arm started going. And either way, the Vikings win 28-22, improving their record to a still dismal 2-5, and the Packers fall to 5-2. They've lost 2 of their last 3, I believe. Running down some stats for you. Kirk Cousins, an efficient 11 of 14 day for 1 touchdown, and the big one, 0 interceptions. The Vikings as a whole had 0 turnovers on the day, which if you win the turnover battle, you're going to win more games than you're going to lose. And Kirk wasn't asked to be the superstar today because I don't think he has that in him. He was a great game manager. He did what he needed to do. He handed the ball off to Dalvin Cook. And Dalvin Cook ate the Packers alive. 30 carries for Dalvin Cook, 163 rushing yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. And not to be outdone, Cook was the leading receiver for the Vikings, just to show you how much of a day it was for Dalvin Cook. 2 receptions for 63 yards and a touchdown. So a total of 4 touchdowns today for Dalvin Cook. First player on the Vikings to score 4 touchdowns in one game since, yeah, you guessed it, Ahmad Rashad back in 1979. Yes, that Ahmad Rashad from inside the NBA from when you were growing up back in the mid-90s. But now, granted, 50 of those yards came on one play, which was a beautiful 50-yard scamper on a little screenplay out to the left. And I'll tell you who impressed me most today, other than Dalvin Cook, because, I mean, what he did today was just amazing. The offensive line played damn good. On that 50-yard screen pass, Brian O'Neill was 30 yards downfield blocking for Dalvin Cook. Ezra Cleveland got the start at right guard again and played great. I thought he played really well. Garrett Bradbury was back and played well. Dakota Dozier is the weak link on that line. Now, the Green Bay defensive line isn't the most stout in the league, but they are formidable. And I think the way they played today, they blocked great for Dalvin Cook. There was one breakdown on a sack that the Packers got. I can't remember who got that sack. Big white dude. But aside from that, I mean, Kirk Cousins he didn't have to do much today, so they didn't have to pass block much. Irv Smith is really starting to take shape as a good run and pass blocker, and Kyle Rudolph is Kyle Rudolph. He's going to do what he does. But all in all, for the Vikings, couldn't have asked for anything more today other than, can you just get another first down so we don't have to have heart attacks about Aaron Rodgers with the ball down 6 with 40 seconds left? I would appreciate that. This week's already going to be stressful enough with the upcoming election. Hey, in the end, the Minnesota Vikings get a win at Lambeau, which is very few and far between for the Vikings. And we're happy about that. On the other side of the ball, Aaron Rodgers, not too shabby of a day, goes 27 of 41 for 291 yards and 3 touchdowns, all to Davante Adams, as I've mentioned before. No interceptions. That's typical Rodgers. He did have a couple against Tampa Bay a couple of weeks ago, but all in all, I think he's only got 2 interceptions. He's got I want to say 17 touchdowns this year. So a 17-2 ratio, not bad. A lot better than Mr. Kirk Cousins. And he played well. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. He's still the best quarterback in the NFC North, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC and the NFL, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, sure, Patrick Mahomes is probably ahead of him at this point. Lamar Jackson's probably ahead of him at this point. Josh Allen is probably ahead of him at this point. But there's only a handful of guys that are playing better than Aaron Rodgers. And if we're being honest, I'd take Aaron Rodgers on my team any day of the week. Jamal Adams was the leading rusher as I can't even think of their starting not Devontae Adams. Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, that's the guy's name. He was out today with an injury, so Jamal Adams stepped in. AJ Dillon did some work today. AJ Dillon's going to be a good player down the road, I think. But Aaron Jones, again, one of the better running backs in the league. But Jamal Adams, 16 carries for 75 yards. I didn't think he had that much, but hey, ESPN stats don't lie, right? Robert Tonyan was the leading receiver for the Packers, 5 receptions for 79 yards. Now, granted, a couple of his catches were for 20 plus. Robert Tonyan, that tight end, he's a stud. And with a name like Tonyan, big white tight end, you pretty much have to be. And Davante Adams, as I mentioned a couple of times already, 7 receptions, 53 yards, 3 touchdowns. We couldn't cover him. We can't cover him. You can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. But all in all, I mean, what can you say? I mean, the Vikings beat the Packers, only their second win of the year. But I've always said, something my dad always said, hey, if the Vikings only win 2 games a year, I'm perfectly fine with it, as long as those 2 games are against the Green Bay Packers. I know my Packer-loving cousin Josh will be listening to this at some point. He texted me at the end of the game. I think we were still up 28-14, and he said, "Hey, be kind on the podcast. Be kind on the Monday morning recap to us." And I just text back. I said, "This game ain't over yet, buddy," and it wasn't, and it was a lot closer than what it needed to be, but. In the end, the Vikings beat the Packers, which makes all of us, well, not all of us, not Josh, makes us all happy. Running on the rest of the NFC North, the Colts, the Indianapolis Colts, Phillip Rivers, Jonathan Taylor, they destroy the Detroit Lions, 41-21. Didn't watch any of that game. I don't know what happened in that game, but the Lions come to U.S. Bank Stadium next weekend on Sunday for a Northern Division clash. And the Lions have kind of become what the Vikings used to be, where we take all of like Green Bay's old broken down players, Ryan Longwell, Brett Favre, all of them. They've kind of done that with the Vikings. They got Adrian Peterson. They now have Everson Griffin on their squad. So be fun to see old Ev and AP come in to U.S. Bank Stadium. And, if the Vikings can start, stringing some wins together, there's an extra playoff team now. Who knows what could happen? I'm not saying they're going to make the playoff. I'm not saying they're going to win another damn game the rest of the year. But if they can be competitive, that's all we can ask for. The game I did watch a significant portion of was the Saints versus the Chicago Bears, two teams that I absolutely despise, but if I had to root for one of them today, I was hoping the Saints would win. I watched the second half of that game, and Chicago they are the oddest team I've ever seen. They're 5-2 coming into the game. Their quarterbacks are a dumpster fire. Nick Foles is not every pass he throws, he's throwing from his back foot. He's always like leaning back. It's weird. But either way, the Saints take care of the Bears in overtime, 26-23. Pretty entertaining game. Holton Hill, not Holton Hill. I don't know. They're the backup quarterback for the Saints. I can't ever remember what his damn name is. Um, he got a receiving touchdown, and he's a backup quarterback for crying out loud. Many think he's the heir apparent to Drew Brees when Brees retires, probably at the end of this year. But he's out there catching passes and running the ball from Wildcat. But Saints 26, Chicago 23. Chicago falls to 5-3. So as of right now, the Lions are 3-4, I believe. The Vikings are 2-5. The Bears are 5-3, and the Packers are 5-2. So we'll see what the rest of the season holds. I don't have much hope for the Vikings making the playoffs or winning more than maybe 5 or 6 games, but who knows? I never thought they'd beat the Packers today, but guess what? They done did it. But all right, well, pretty short show today because we only got one game to really cover because the Vikings played the Packers and the Packers played the Vikings, so that's all we need to do, right? So so later on this week, we're going to be doing, of course, the JR's Basement podcast. I missed it last week. Had some stuff going on, but this week, very important episode as the presidential election is going to be held on Tuesday, November 3rd, and will have very big consequences on our life, on our world, and on our country. So until next time, this is JR signing off from Monday Morning Quarterback. We'll see you next week.